chronologically, you're seeing life from left to right. For me, it's right to left. Unless I do this, and then they say never turn your back on the audience, because you never know what fruit they're going to throw at you. But it goes back to 7th grade. Mr. Galbraith. How many of you had Mr. Galbraith? Oh, that's right, you guys didn't go to Gladwin. Mr. Galbraith was a force to be reckoned with. He was old school. Mrs. Francombe, he would call. Of course, none of the kids were married in 7th grade. They didn't get married till they were in 9th. But everybody was Miss and Mr. That's how he addressed them. Every once in a while, he would slip and call you by your first name. But it was Miss and Mr. Everything was very, very regimented and rigorous. And the first day of school, he said, you need to have a spiral notebook and colored pencils for tomorrow. Tomorrow, you will have spiral notebook and colored pencils. So when you got home, guess what you told your parents? We got to go and get a spiral notebook and colored pencils. And that has stuck with me over the years. And he would teach us things about going on what they called a field trip. And you would take this trip out, and this has a point to it, believe it or not. You would go out and take a walk in the woods, and you had to draw the path. And you used a certain color for the path. And where there were trees, you had a different color for this. And everything that you encountered had a different color and a name, and you documented everything. And from then, it just seemed like a natural thing to have journals. So I have kept journals, and and Janine can attest to this, I have journals everywhere. There are journals that you can take for, if you like, devotionals. I have a devotional for every day of the year, starting in January. They're out on the table if you need more. I have a journal that you can study the book of Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, the parables of Jesus. I have all kinds of these. And some of those are color-coded too. And so is our letter to James. I always encourage people to either journal or make your notes in the Bible. And some people will not write in the Bible no matter what. That's okay. That's what these journals are for. So when I read in this, I'll say, let's see, James, Bill Ragland preached a sermon from this passage in James chapter 4, 7/28 of 2013. I like to write things down so I know them. They jog my memory and remember, that's what he was talking about. In fact, you may not realize it, but Bill Ragland visited us here. He lives in Chicago. He visited us here last summer. I remember that when he preached. So, our scripture, the main idea, the big picture for today's lesson, words from here, noteworthy thoughts, those aha moments, application. How can I use this in my life today? And the impact. How did this hit me? And my prayer, God help me to, this is all there on your little booklet. Once you write it down, you are obligated by law to do it. Okay? Come now, you rich, weep and howl for your miseries that are coming upon you. Your riches are corrupted and your garments are moth-eaten. Your gold and silver are corroded, and their corrosion will be a witness against you and will eat your flesh like fire. You have heaped up treasure in the last days. Indeed, the wages of the laborers who mowed your fields, which you kept back by fraud, cry out, and the cries of the reapers have reached the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. You have lived on the earth in pleasure and luxury. You have fattened your hearts as in the day of slaughter. You have condemned. You have murdered the just. He does not resist you. Notice how I put that inflection in. Anybody, did that frighten anybody? Then it should have. Good. Does a passage like this, how does it impact you? How did this hit me? Anybody deal with rich people on a daily basis? People with money. We had one of the wealthiest people in Grand Traverse County visit us here, attended our services this past year. Just as common person as you want to know. You'd never know it. Obviously, this passage is talking about other people, right? Never be talking about us, because we would not fall into that category. But how rich does one have to be? How much money, how much stuff, that's a technical Greek term, by the way, how much stuff would we have to fall into this category right here?
Relatively little compared to the rest of the world.
Relatively little, yes. Anybody ever traveled to third world countries? Anybody been on vacation in the Caribbean? Third world countries down there. Mexico, Central America, South America, Africa, almost anywhere you want to go in the world. Throw a dart at the world map, you're probably going to hit a third world country. And they look at virtually everybody who lives in the United States as being way up here, and we are. A plane trip that we took, Janine and I were traveling overseas, and on the way back, I was talking to a lady who was, she was from Germany. And I said, because it's one of those things, the United States is always on somebody's hate list. Not that I thought we were on her hate list, but I asked, what do you think of people in America? She'd been here a lot of times. She says, well, my thoughts of people in America are little old ladies with blue hair walking their dog going, oh, darling. I never forgot that. It's been 35 years ago since I heard this lady describe people from America like, oh, darling.
Sounds like Zsa Zsa Gabor.
That's exactly who I was thinking, Zsa Zsa Gabor. That's what they picture. You know, we have these stereotypes of idiosyncrasies of people who are wealthy. And when we read this passage, these 6 verses, what thought, what picture comes into our minds of people who are rich? Anybody here come to mind? You probably think I have a lot of money. I am rich, aren't I? Yes. I live in the United States. We live better per capita in the United States than perhaps I've heard termed anywhere from 95 to 99% of the world. We have a higher standard of living. So to the rest of the world, we're rich. And yet, when we think of people that are rich, we probably think of people from the Fortune 500 company. So everything is relative in this. So who is James talking to here? Why is he talking to us?
Because we were put at the front of the line.
Yeah, put it in the front of the line. Yeah, they do sound like pretty bad people.
They just sound like authority, I guess. Like, I mean, you look at someone not necessarily rich with money, but rich with power.
Rich with power.
Because when you were talking about, do you have anyone that you have a problem with that is rich? And immediately what came to my mind is every boss I've ever had.
Power hungry.
Yeah. Power.
I don't know if that shows up on the microphone, but that's okay. Power. Yes. And that really answers a lot of what they're talking about here when you come back to, indeed, the wages of the laborers who mowed your fields. So it might be hitting kind of close to home here for us. If we're a boss, we own a company, we're in charge of people, and we're shorting people because we want more. But come now. And remember, he uses this, where does he use this? Oh, we back up to verse 13 of chapter 4. Come now, you who say today or tomorrow we go to such and such a town. So he begins the next chapter, this next part of this. He says, come now, you rich. And what does the word come now mean? Why is he using the word come now? Why is he saying that term? And I don't know what it is in the Greek. I didn't have it written down. Right now, listen. Oh, come on now, okay. Whatever it takes to get their attention. I had a neighbor, his name was Tone is everything. Yeah. Yeah. Says, oh, come now. As opposed to come now. I had a neighbor, his name was Bill Adams. He'd say, now listen. That's how he would talk. It was a very interesting radio. And when he wanted to make that point, he wanted you to hear, listen. Just like that, he'd drag out that N. Come now, you rich. Weep and howl. But I'm well off. I have everything. I have a beautiful mansion that I live in. I have many sets of clothes. And by the way, in the ancient civilizations, having sets of clothes, that meant you were wealthy. Remember when Naaman offered to Elisha? What did he offer him? Sets of clothes. So if you gave someone a set of clothes, that was considered wealth. Like salt. Salt was considered a way of payment. Weep and howl. Size 4, that's what I wear. One of my goals this year is I want to get down to 80. 90 really. Weight-wise. That's kilograms. How did I get onto this? Weep and howl for your miseries that are coming up. They're coming on you. Okay? You will get them. Why? Your riches are corrupted, and your garments are moth-eaten. Ooh, that sign of wealth, my garments, they're moth-eaten. Anybody ever have trouble with moths in your clothes? It's sort of like, the big thing now is bed bugs. Yeah, if you have bed bugs, he says I didn't mean to go that place really, but if you understand bed bugs, you understand moth-eaten, because moths, if you give your clothes away and they have moths in them, they'll just throw them away, because once they're in there, they get it, and they eat them up, they have holes in them. Your riches are corrupted. Your gold and silver are corroded, and their corrosion will be a witness against you and will eat your flesh like fire. You have heaped up treasure in the last days. You just keep accumulating all of this. Gold and silver. When silver, over time, what happens to silver? Tarnishes. We had a sugar and cream dispensers along with a silver plate. And Janine had already moved down to Indiana ahead of me. And we had these, and Janine says, just get rid of them. They're not really good. I says, but no, let me polish them. So I took Ajax and really fine sandpaper, because I wanted to get that tarnish off it, and ruined it. I wore apparently silver on most of these things is just an outside coating. I ruined it. I rubbed it right off. I thought, wow, look at that. What's that color? They were tarnished. But gold is another thing. They have dug up gold that has been buried for centuries and is still just as shiny as the day it was buried. And yet, and this is really sort of the same terms that Jesus talks about in the Sermon on the Mount, when he talks about those things that are moth-eaten and rust has corroded them. You think, well, silver can't be rusted or gold, but that makes even more sense when it talks about, he's not talking about the literal tarnishing of it, but he's talking about the corrupt way of which it was accumulated. And their corrosion will be a witness against you and will eat your flesh like fire. Do you ever know someone who just couldn't get enough money? I don't care what day it is, if you're offering overtime for me, sign me up for it. I cannot work enough hours. I'll work double shifts as long as I can keep getting money. And the stories are out there. Anybody ever read the stories about people who died and people thought they were living in poverty, only to discover that they had millions and millions of dollars? I read an article about a fellow that he was so cheap. And you ask, how cheap was he? He used to save electricity by going to his neighbor's apartment to watch television. It's just, well, yeah, that's kind of cheap. But there are people like that who just, and they wear the same clothes, they shop at used, everything is used, their clothing, everything. But they keep accumulating wealth. And when they die, people are saying, why did you accumulate all of this wealth? Why did you, in a sense, live off other people in order to amass wealth for yourself? Gabe? How much are you accumulating, Gabe? Come on, tell us.
None right now. I mean, I'm working on going to college, but it just brings up a good point. I know it's kind of off track, but I don't know if you've ever seen the old movie Hello, Dolly with Barbra Streisand. Basically, the banker says money has to be filtered. There's no use if you just pile it up and stack it and store it away. It has to have a flow to it. So, you know, being cheap, I mean, you're right, what is the point?
Mm-hmm.
You're saving all that money for what?
Yeah.
You're reminding me of the saying, the rich man who found a way to bring a sack of gold bars to heaven, and when he got up there, he said, why'd you bring a sack of bricks with you?
Yeah. Yeah. People that are trying to dig gold up on the streets of gold think, what are they so concerned about dirt for? Yeah, it's plentiful. Yeah.
Money is just an earthly thing, and eventually one day it's going to have no value. You know, I guess that's why they say money is the root of all evil.
The love of money. Love money. Indeed, the wages of the laborers who mowed your fields, which you kept back by fraud, cry out, and the cries of the reapers have reached the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth. You made your money off the backs of other people, and it's not to say, you know, in the realm of organized labor, you always seem to have the unions, the common workers here, against those who own the companies or are in charge. And there's this wall that exists because the workers are always saying, you're making money off our backs, and the people who own the company say, but I built this company. And there the two shall meet. Some have overcome it. But it always seems to be that idea that those who have money and who own companies are always amassing money off the backs of others. While that may be true, there are those who have employee-owned companies, which they pay the dividends for this. People have found the way out of it. But in this case, he's not accusing everyone of this. Who is he accusing? Come now, you rich, weep and howl. Is it everybody who's rich? Is it evil to have money, and how much money do we have to have in order to be considered rich and to be evil?
You read about people like Job and Abraham, and actually God blessed them with riches and comfort. So he didn't condemn them because they had money. So that's just where your priorities are.
It's always about the priorities and the choices that people make.
Again, I'll repeat it. The love of money is the root of your God. Thou shalt not put other gods before me. If you make money your God, then that's a problem. That's when it becomes a sin.
Okay? Jericho, the walls fall. They go in, they take Rahab and her family out, but they're told to do what? Destroy everything. Achan, however, doesn't. But no one knows it except Achan and probably his family, which is why his family was destroyed. But Achan says, when I saw these things, I coveted them. The bars of silver, the things that were there, I just saw them and I had to have them. Anybody ever go to secondhand stores, junk shops, hock shops? That's where I live? Okay. And it doesn't have to be secondhand stuff. Anywhere you go and you just walk past it and think, oh, I got to have that. Well, we all want a lot of things. Yeah, it's where the heart is at.
In reading that, even though he's calling them rich, he's saying to the rich, but he uses a lot more words to describe them than the rich. So he's not just talking just to the rich. He's talking to the rich that the corrosion, evidence against him, they have frauded, they've been self-indulgent, they have condemned, they have murdered. I think we get stuck on the rich.
Yep.
And forget it's all these other characteristics. Because, as Roma mentioned, there are a lot of wealthy men in the Bible, and wealthy women that helped Jesus on his ministry. It's what they did with the riches that describes them. That, to me, is responsible.
I'll sum that up for people that didn't hear her. Try to. She's very wise, by the way. That's why I let her handle all the money. Wilma, she said that it's not just the rich, but it's the characteristics of what they have done to get rich. That's where the focus is. And moving past just that word rich, because we read that and then we don't get any farther. It says, oh, it's all about the rich. It is not money. It is the love of money. It is not necessarily that power corrupts, but it is the love of power that corrupts in that.
I grew up very poor, and I've seen a lot of people that are poor and very hateful and bitter and covetous too.
Yes, all the way to the other end of the spectrum of you have the rich over here, then you have the poor who live their life wanting more and coveting things that other people have and complaining about the fact they don't have anything. That's its own trouble, isn't it? Paul mentioned something about, oh, you stole it right out of my mouth. Yes. Godliness with contentment, Paul talks about. And learning the art of contentment is not an easy task. And he uses an interesting term here at the end of verse 4. It has reached the ears of Lord of, I call it Sabaoth, but more likely Sabaoth. But it's not the Lord of the Sabbath that he's talking about. It's the Lord of hosts, which is a term that's used here in James chapter 4. But the Lord of hosts, if you want to do that, is a great search. It means the one who is in charge of God's army. The host is talking about hosts of angels. And does anybody have any idea how many angels that there are? A host.
More than 10,000, because that's how many Jesus could have called.
Okay. There, and if you go to the book of Revelation, it talks about 10,000 times 10,000. So add 4 more zeros to 10,000 and you've got more than 10,000, yeah. And so this is, if you go back to the book of Joshua, Joshua is about to enter the promised land. He's about to cross, and this angel of the Lord comes to him. And Joshua goes up and says, Are you for us or are you against us? Not necessarily in those words exactly. But the Lord of hosts, most scholars believe that that is the pre-incarnate Christ. And when it says, then that final trumpet shall sound, and this with a great shout, the Lord is going to come with what? All his angels. So he is the Lord of hosts. So whose ears is this going up to? When Jesus says, I didn't come here for judgment, but when I return, it will be for judgment. And this, the cries of the reapers, the wages of the laborers that you have ripped off, has reached the ears of God. And between, if I can use this as sort of an example, and the type of it is contained in the tabernacle in the temple of the Old Testament, is that you would come into the tent, if it was a tabernacle, or into the temple. You would come in and you'd have the showbread, you'd have the lamp, you'd go in. But behind the curtain, who could go there? Only the high priest, and how often? Once a year. Okay? So once a year goes back for all the sins. Read the book of Hebrews, that's all been taken out of the way. Our prayers go up to heaven, and it's represented in the book of Psalms in a place, and also in the book of Revelation, where it talks about that it goes up as a sweet savor of incense. That's what our prayers are to God, our prayers that go up. But where do our prayers go up to on the way to the Father? They go through Christ. He is our intercessor. So our prayers go up, Christ hears them, and I have to use it in terms that only I can understand, and maybe it helps us understand, that Christ hears our prayers, and then he intercedes and passes them on. Just like our sins go up, but they don't make it to the Father, because he presents us faultless. Our who? Our legal counsel. See, I knew somebody could make it a lot simpler.
Just like you said, no one comes to the Father except through me.
Yes, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me.
So our prayers go to Jesus, and then
He's our intercessor. Okay? So he says, they have reached the ears of the Lord of Sabaoth, the Lord of hosts, the one who is in charge of all of these angels. It's reached them. You have lived on earth in pleasure and luxury. You have fattened your hearts as in the day of slaughter. And you can just hear him. James is pounding that lectern. It's not really a podium, it's a lectern. You have fattened your hearts as in the day of slaughter. You have condemned, you have murdered the just. He does not resist you. Oof. Doesn't sound good, does it? And as we're not going to go past verse 6, but verse 7 is a bridge there. Therefore is the bridge between this thought and that thought. Talking about the rich, then he says, be patient, therefore, brothers, until the coming of the Lord. All of this stuff is happening. And who is it that the rich people are ripping off? He's talking to Christians here. Now, they're not just Christians they're ripping off, but they're probably ripping off everybody. But if the Christians are the ones that are reading this, he says, be patient, therefore. He hasn't skipped over this passage. He's not talking about boasting tomorrow. He's talking about this passage. And we are being ripped off isn't a good Greek word. We are being taken advantage of by the rich. We are being oppressed. There it is. Yes. See how smart she are? We're being oppressed by them. That's our tribulation, as it were. And from our Revelation class, When is the greatest tribulation that ever took place? When did it occur? It took place just before the destruction of the temple. It isn't something that we're looking forward into the future, because people are talking about the, what is that term they're using for the end? It's called the rapture. You know, there's no such thing as the rapture. We know that because we read the Bible. They're talking about this tribulation is going to be the greatest tribulation ever. It already happened. Now, does that mean we're not going to go through tribulation? No. But the greatest tribulation that ever happened, Jesus says, is going to happen in this generation. And James is dealing with this. Rapture was invented in the 1830s by William Miller. William Miller convinced hundreds of people that the day of the Lord was going to happen, I believe, in 1844. He used 3 different dates. So he says, you're going to sell everything you own. Why would you sell everything you own if you know the end of the world is coming? But that's just, you didn't hear that from me. Sell everything you own, and we're going to go up to the top of the mountain, because after all, if he's coming down from here, he's going to reach us first, because we're going to be at the top of the mountain. So he came up with this term called the rapture, when one person is taken and the other one is left. Well, Jesus is using that language to say that's how sudden it's going to be. That is the suddenness of this. So they invented this term called the rapture for it. So for some 17 to 1800 years, no one had ever used that term. No one ever even thought about this. And suddenly, it becomes popular in the 1800s. So for the last 200 years. What does that sound in my ear? So, okay. Be patient, therefore, brothers, until the coming of the Lord. See how the farmer waits for the precious fruit of the earth, being patient about it until it receives the early and late rains. This is happening to Christians in that time. But he says, be patient, because the Lord of hosts hears your cries. He hears. He listens to us. Now, is our prayer, I sure hope you take care of my boss because he's ripping me off. Anybody ever pray for the destruction of the company you work for, or the people that are your bosses? Don't. Don't do that. And I'm on record for that. Pray for them. But understand that this happened 1900 years ago, and it still happens today, and it will continue to happen if the world will exist for another 10,000 years. He says, be patient. And patience is our specialty. Because you've been praying for it, right? No. Yeah. Careful what you pray for, you just might get it. Any questions? Application, how can I use this in my life today? Anybody have any comments, questions? Yes. Make sure you're not one of those people who's oppressing others. Because everything that we have is from who? It's from God. Whether we want to admit it or not, He has allowed us to have this. It is our choice whether we want to work and accumulate or not work. It all comes from God. And so, as good stewards of this, which, by the way, is what really the class is being taught by Greg Nienhaus, is being good stewards of the things that we have. Okay, let's beat everybody to the restaurants now. Cut that last part off, Mark.